We are comic creators, graphic novelists over here, and it's nice shade over here. So whoever wants to come and sit inside can come inside. You don't really have to be interested in comics or graphic novels to be sitting in here, but you can just overhear the conversation that's going on. But apparently, Nandita is a scientist who works in some what is that?
So I'm not technically a professor the way I have been introduced. So I don't want to fake it right now.
So if
Uh,
anybody's like,
so if you're going to Google me and check out, like, am I a professor in water resource or something? That's a huge sham,
so please, water resource people, get out of here. Comic people, come inside.
This is just like two comic book people being put on stage without a moderator. So we just don't know what's going to happen.
So the idea is to like show a conversation like between comic artists, and it goes something like this, stuff like that. But it led to a few books because very few people do comics or take it seriously in the country. So if you made like half a comic, then there used to be a time when publishers will come after you and say like, hey, you want to get published and all that. Not that anybody's going to buy it or anything, but we'll just like put it out there because publishers want to seem like, oh, we've done like comics also. Just like literature festivals, they also want to seem like, we've included comics also, but like we don't know much about it, and it's for children or something like that, right? Like it's for.
Yeah, we are like the diversity, to showcase diversity. We are here for that, So in the mainstream, like, just to be inclusive. So we are the inclusive group, like the group that has been included. So we don't feel left out.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we actually like listed out a bunch of things so that we have something to talk about and all that.
Yeah, we actually made a list, very methodologically,
So both of us, it seems, have been working in comics since 2005. It's not a very easy field as yet to like invite people to make comics because like even the artists are found in Europe and more advanced markets for comics. They don't really survive on comics alone. You have to hustle. You have to basically like get some other commercial deals, or like I used to be in advertising, so that's how the whole thing works. But the love of comics and wanting to tell stories is what like brought us to this thing. I want to ask Nandita first, like how she started and what keeps her going in this field.
Ooh. What got me started, actually, like you just said, I think all comic book artists actually have two jobs. So, I'd like to think I'm a bit of a superheroes. In the morning, I have like the Superman Clark Kent kind of a job. And then at night, I try to make comics. So those are my superpowers, you can say, or whatever, lack of it.
Sure, yeah, but how did you get into it? You said comic artists have two jobs. Most other people have only one job. What makes these guys take two jobs?
Uh, Insanity.
Yeah.
Complete insanity if you do not like to draw or make comics, or it's, I think, some sort of a perverse pleasure we also get in being rejected, because half the time it's going to be rejected because most publishers will tell us, like, who is going to read it? Is this going to sell? The publishing costs are too much. So can you imagine going back heartbroken every day? So there's some sort of a, I don't know, self-sacrifice and thing that comes from it. Yeah, but
I'm not
yeah.
so self-aware as her. I don't identify with the insanity part, but probably it's true. But there's this need to like this love for telling stories. I want to like tell stories somehow. So first I thought, okay, just like most people, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to make films or I want to make animation or something. So I did that in Bombay. I studied animation also for some time, and I realized that the kind of stories that I want to tell, nobody's going to like fund it. So you're always at the mercy of the producers when you're making a big budget anything. So I don't have stories where I can quickly fix in like a song and dance sequence or anything. So I started doing storyboards, and the storyboards kind of led to accepting and liking the medium more. So I realized, okay, this is very much under my control. I can draw, I can write, and I can maneuver the story whichever way I want, which sort of feeds into the underground spirit of comics that I really liked. So, leaving the mainstream, I found the narratives from the comic scene a lot more something that I connect with. And we're not talking about superhero comics as such. So superhero is like the mainstream end of it. And luckily now, like, people in India are also like getting more into comics. because of superheroes and the Marvel movies and all that. So everyone knows all these things.
Yeah, a little footnote there. We don't really like superheroes too much. The real.
Absolutely. I was always asked if I can make a superhero, and the superhero comes with the same kind of powers that a politician or a film star has, you know. And in India, especially, we have this habit of this bhakti and like worshipping larger than life figures and everything. So we already have enough superheroes actually in the country. So we don't need to like make any more. But I did make one. My superhero is called Rashtraman. Rashtraman is very right wing and extreme and very proud of it. And he tells you how to dress and how to eat and what to say and what not to say and things like that. And that I think is the kind of superhero we like because I put it out on social media and often like the right wing starts sharing it because that is the idea of the super of their leader that they have, you know. So the satire is lost and sometimes I like kill myself or kick myself in the head, but that's how it goes. So we're talking more on the independent stream, and yeah, whatever. You want to start looking at the list?
Yeah, I think so. But we were talking about how we started and kind of
Go for
got
it.
here. So similar to George here, basically I dabbled in animation. I was very bad at it, and however, I had a lot of stories to tell, and I started working with comic books because I started feeling I had more control with it, and that's where my journey actually began. So it's kind of similar there, and like the underground part, I think comic books are like what it's a language for people like who probably can't speak in the mainstream language. I don't know if that makes sense, but everybody who feels less represented, or like even when I say less represented, I also mean like a lot of us. Maybe most comic book people are very shy. I mean, getting two of us on stage here is like something. So I think all of us have part of that, and so I think comic books is a great language for people like us.
See, that's why I liked comics. Also, there are stories and narratives that aren't the mainstream. How do you give like a voice to that? Because when that's where the real creative stuff happens, right? If you see the mainstream, it's always like stealing from the indie artist or the underground scene and like blowing it up, and then it becomes like everywhere. And then after that, don't touch it. Before that, there are many ideas that have life. So what she means is we don't have that pressure of the big market dictating and telling us what to make or what to do as yet, because none of us have sold as those numbers yet. So once we start doing, then maybe there'll be more clamp on it. But still, she's talking about it as a medium. So it's a very good medium for anybody to start doing it. And so there have been a lot of movements with indie comics and stuff all around. Kerala, Kochi, and Calicut have been really active. And there's Harshita over here. She handles like the Indie Comics Fest, which will happen in November 10th, right? In Calicut. Where is it? Design Ashram. Okay, so we've got a nice plug for like this festival. Like go and like take part or like look at it. There are many independent creators coming and putting out their comics. They're selling it there. Support the independent scene and all that. Because once they become popular, you cannot support them and they won't support you.
Yeah. You want to talk about the themes in your books? Because
That's our next topic.
That's our next
Then
topic.
we have to talk about
We
the
have-
themes in our book.
this list. Okay, so we're going to go through the entire list. This was like a little bit of brainstorming we both did. So some
Go for
themes. Yeah, some themes. You have like a fictional world.
Oh, you're talking about
Oh,
my
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We had decided that we praise each other's
Yeah, we're
work.
going to just praise each other. Like I'm just going to keep saying his work is awesome, which it is, by the way. And he's just going to keep saying it's great stuff.
Yeah,
okay?
and
So-
it is also okay. Yeah, cool. Sorted. But yeah, so I started. I studied economics and commerce, and I went to like advertising, and then from that side of the world, I went to NGOs and like did some work in Bhopal and did a lot of work with Greenpeace. So it kind of like it was a spectrum to like run across. So then I'm like thinking, okay, there are lots of stories in between these areas from the advertising world to this that I can like capitalize on. Capitalize is not the what happened, but like yeah, that's what I did. So initial stories are about corporate takeover, the culture, and what we live in, advertising, and how I kind of design the dream that goes in your head, and then people will be like, I'm following my dream. But then who put the dream in your head was the question in the beginning. Then I did a few books. I have this fictional world called Hala Hala, where most of the stories are set. And then it slowly moved into the political scenario also. But there's always a lot of critique, and it's always a tribute to nature and environment. That's the broad themes there. What about yours?
Mine, my books actually have no action. In that sense, there is no huge plot where somebody is going to. I mean, yeah, people do die sometimes, but I really like talking about. So my last book, like it's called Starry Starry Night, that's got to do with death, actually, how we all cope with death. And the biggest thing I wanted to do with that book was, so I actually wrote it for children. I wanted the idea of death to be put out to children. And the other stuff I really like to talk about is, you know, everybody thinks there's great action in life happening all the time. There's actually no action in life, at least not in mine. But yet there is a story that I feel that is unfolding very subtly all the time. And that's what my books, I mean, that's what I try to do with my stories. So my other book, which is called The Song of the Sky Tree, it's actually about growing up in the 80s and 90s. And it's got like a character like I don't know if a lot of Indian literature has kind of dealt with that thing, but one of the characters is asexual. So when you kind of talk about sexuality, there is like people are more aware about gay, lesbian, etc. But asexuality is something where somebody is attracted to neither. So this is a character I really wanted to exist out there, but. For me, none of the characters are there to make like a statement. I just want them to be like, because we're all part of a story, a living story. Uh, like you can either hate, like, probably be dismissive of someone, but that at the same time, we're just living together. So the entire thing for me is like, they're just people around us. So instead of a person who is like a regular, I mean, so-called regular straight person, I wanted an asexual kind of a character. I did that with another book of mine called Rain Must Fall, which is actually for young adults. And I simply had a non-binary character there because I have students who identify as non-binary. So I just wanted a character who will just be there. Like, it's just a story, but nothing to do with trying to, put a message there, because I think message is not something you hammer in. Yes, the minute we start seeing each other as people and people existing around us, then a story is told. So
Very nice. As a comic artist, I would say, wow, cool. But as an advertising person, I say you're underselling yourself big time. There's death and there's all this like asexual character and all. I think she can really sell it out there to the big market. These are all like trending topics right now. Death will always be trending.
yeah, but I have to tell you, when I pitched it to my editor, so I was waiting for like a no. And 2 months later, very subtly, I got a very sweet message saying, I love the book, but it is very sad. So on a side note, I said, do you think we should sell it with some alcohol? It might help. She said, this book is target for 12-year-olds. We will just try to sell it.
Yeah, that. So, it's come to a place with all the likes and shares and all that. That earlier the editors used to take a call on what should go out to the market, but now we actually have the people taking a call on what should go into the market or not. Like if you have so many likes, you may not even have a story, but you have so many followers, then the publisher will tell you, why don't you make a book? We can sell it. So it's become like that. Our point was, unless you have a story, don't go into it. There's a lot of crap out there. There's like a lot of shit. Like if you're going to like add to it, like be careful. Like at least like censor yourself, or like, like see what you're adding to this total like mass of information out there. Because anyway, nobody's getting anything.
Right.
That kind of thing.
No, also there's a trend these days, because this entire thing about graphic novels, I mean, it's become a big trend suddenly, but like we were talking about earlier, like just because you're drawing, you can be a great artist. That doesn't make you a graphic novelist. You don't need to, I mean, you have to have a story.
Yeah. If you can draw well,
that's the spine.
Don't mistake yourself for a graphic
Yes.
novelist. You are a person who can draw well. Go
Yeah.
draw well. Okay, don't make books and like kill the market, which is already like making it's on its last legs or something. Right?
Yeah. So
So yeah, it comes in like political comics as well, like because we put it out and it's always in the social media scene, and what they like and not like and
Yeah,
things like
yeah.
that. Yeah, cool. Or do you? Yeah, go for it.
We go for the next point.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talk. Would you like to tell everybody about what inspired you?
Oh, inspired me.
Yeah.
No, it's just I already covered it. It's my work thing and all that, and I want to tell stories. I want to like.
No, did you have like some like a hero you looked up to? Like, oh my God, like I want to draw like this, talk like this, walk like this.
No, I think that's a very dangerous thing. Like we
Okay.
always name this favorite person or this hero kind of thing. I think we should do away with heroes in general and gods if we have the time for it. But like we're too busy to do that. But like this kind of like looking up to somebody, look up to the art, like the art, or like let the art speak to you. The person behind it most probably is like a pedophile or something like that. Like you don't want to go into it, like I mean that those cases are also there.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely. You want to
ah,
choose your heroes
I have
well.
I followed like filmmakers. I've sworn by them, and then after that, actually, yeah, So it's yeah. Let's look at the art and not like really talk about
Yeah.
the people behind it. It's great if the people are there, but sometimes we need these twisted minds to like come up with something like that also, because it exposes you to another side of things. So let's cover like ground. Let's let art like explore these things and like talk about it. Let it process and bring it out. So comics telling stories, what we're trying to say is you can tell any sort of stories. There's this really hard to shake off image around comics that it's for kids and it's bad for you and
Yeah.
things like that, which is why our comic reading or understanding is where it is today. It's bad for you, it's bad for kids, so we forgot the visual reading. We forgot about like the language of visual reading. There are lots of comics that are silent also. So you can think about like cave paintings and how we started putting images before we were even writing things. So there is an easy way to communicate, and it actually transcends languages and borders. There are a few silent comics from 1915 and 1908 that I found. That's very relevant, and it looks like somebody made it yesterday, and the theme is just relating to me. If that can stand the test of like a century, like literature does also, but graphics even more.
Yes.
Because literature, I can tell that it was written at that time. This one was like very fresh. Like it's an artist called Lind Ward. Lind Ward does woodcut artwork. So you will have long stories from 1912 to he was working since then. So like silent stories of like amazing art and telling like many stories like without any language. Anybody can read it.
It's much like music that way. I think comic books, like, music, it never grows old. Like, in a sense, you can always go back to music you've heard 20 years before, 30 years before. I mean, you can always connect with it. So I think graphic novels and graphic telling, or so sequential storytelling, is amazing that way. You can connect to it at any point in your life. And the best part about it, I think most people don't realize, is because they think it's something like a frivolous medium. Every time you read it, there's some other visual aspect, or even a language aspect, or a stories aspect that will come up each and every time. You do it with any book.
Yeah. So the appeal is for people to like take a little time out and look at things. Right now, because of our conditioning with social media, we want like immediate gratification like that. So that's the area where the comics and not graphic novels because they're longer, but comics and the cartoons online have gained a lot of popularity because it's immediate. It's probably one slide or like two slides, and within that you get the idea of what's there. Mostly people don't want to engage longer. You don't have the attention span. So we comic artists also are like sometimes criticized for having a bigger market because people don't want to read like real novels. So let's not compare with it. We are just looking at graphic novels and comics as another medium. It's always seen as a lesser art or whatever, but like it's another form of telling stories. If there's something relevant, it works, and that you can decide. Like from mouse to like my comics, there are like all kinds of things. So it's working as a medium. Sorry, I forgot like what you were saying.
We were talking about how, like, each time you go back to it, it's actually going to come up with something else. And, like, you can just be stuck on one page, and each time it's going to be a different page.
So sometimes there are hidden meanings. sometimes there are like visual puns, or a beauty about writing is writing a comic is that, you know, you're saying what is not there in the words through the images, and sometimes what is not there in the images through the words. So it's like a play. You're like balancing the two and you're going along. And when this is not strong, you pick up the other one, and you know, it's like a dance between these two things, and that's what I really enjoy. The high point is, of course, cracking the idea, and then you have to like put yourself down and like work on it for 6 months or 1 year or whatever. So but that comes as part of it. And so making it as such is that's why she said like we are kind of quiet people, because yes, there's a literature festival season and we come and like make clowns of ourselves like this in front of people who don't know us. But like, you know, after that we have to go home and sit for like 6 months like quietly and like try to like get a page a day, or 2 pages a day if it's lighter work, you know, and finish a book.
And
So
then feel depressed for 3 days because those 2 pages may have not worked out well.
yeah, that little like annoying thing at the end. And yeah, so you know, and I just had a very pleasurable experience of working on a book. So you know, don't think that it's all downhill when you're working on it.
No, that's not true either.
Yeah, you know, you crack that you crack the rhythm of the work, and then I would focus on getting a lot of the energy from doing the work. Like, you know, the joy has to come from doing the work. If there's no joy in it, then you can't do it. It's art. So that kind of pays you. That's the currency you get pretty much,
Absolutely.
because you know, you can't really rely on what is coming later or something. So this is if you enjoy the work of it, then I think it's beautiful. And I would always like the reader to look a little more into it, because nowadays you're getting more and more into the quick reading, so you might miss things. And maybe some of the authors have hidden some things there, you know, maybe some authors have put some double meaning and some ideas and some larger theme behind. It doesn't have to be like in your face. Like that's what we do in advertising, you know. Like when we do art and comics, we try to work on the subtle things also, but only the in your face things like hit. I know what colors to use if I want to like grab your attention on a billboard. I know, but I won't use those colors in my comic, you know, because I don't want to hit you like that. I don't want to like treat you like a consumer like that, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more, you know, in a graphic novel. So when I actually write for young adults as well, and the best part is, you know, I have librarians and teachers. They come up to me and say, you know, ma'am, your book, now the children who don't read will give it to them. And so that they start reading at least something. So I'm like, you know, that's not how it works. You know, you realize that it's actually like in any other book, and you're kind of stimulating them at many levels. It's not like, you know, like George was saying, it's not like let me just turn the page and see what's there. It's not going to come and punch you in the face and tell you something. There's actually so much more, because you know, it sounded like comic books, like we're all like dying and depressive. It's not really like that. It's actually a rather fun process. Like the entire thing gives a whole lot back. Like for me, every time I get into the flow, or like, you know, speaking about difficult stuff and just being able to reach out with stuff, I mean, I really feel like a rock star in my room. In my mind, I'm like there are like 50,000 people standing there, and I have like probably made the best music ever. So it's like, so it's fun. I mean, it's just at that moment, it's just so complete. And as a reader, or like, you know, one should always keep that in mind. It's not something you read because you can't read a book with lots of words. It's just so much more to a graphic novel.
I think everyone should try to read a silent comic
Yeah.
once at least.
Yeah.
You know, tell yourself the story from images. I've seen it work in many parts of the world. Here, we are not sure of what the meaning is from that page, because there is no written text at the bottom. I think if you read more, you'll get over that fear. I think it's a medium you can enjoy fresh. It's about telling yourself the story, so there is a charm in it. And you know, even if I make a story which like 5 people read, there may be subtle differences in the way each person reads it, and I think that's kind of beautiful, and letting the art like flow in a way. It's nice. But there's no market for it right now, so yeah, build a market, yo.
See, the entire purpose of this talk is also to build a market, okay? So that we can just, you know,
So therefore, from like 2009, I've been going around and answering these questions. What are comics? Why are comics? Who are comics? Things like that. But we never like actually got beyond that question till very late. Nowadays, we have like we were talking about this indie comics fest and all that. There are many festivals coming. There are lots of like creators online. Instagram has really helped a lot of people communicate with words and images together in a comic format.
Yeah.
But I won't say like it can take you beyond a certain level, because it's a catch-22 kind of thing. Like, I want to explain something with comics, but your attention span is only like 2 pages. All the issues that I deal with are so complex that I cannot explain it in 2 pages. So that's it. We can't get through the whole thing because of our attention span. But maybe comics helped. But just the appeal is like, read. I know that I don't have to say it to you people because you've come for a lit fest. But like, other people like just let's slow it down and like take time with things. Process.
Yeah. Process. Okay. Yeah. Our next, thing we need to talk about is our process. How exactly do we make a graphic novel? Actually, it's very different for everyone. So there is no specific, like, this is the way it's done. I typically write my own stories and like draw as well. So for me, like, I don't really have like an author, and I think it's the same for you. You write your own stories as well. Yeah. So now it's slightly different when you're collaborating with an author, like, somebody who has written the entire story and you're probably just visually interpreting it for them, as opposed to like someone like us who we kind of make our own stories and we're also drawing it. So I don't usually have something called a storyboarding. A lot of people do, which means like they'll break down the story in parts, completely. For me, it's like while I am drawing, I'm also writing. So it happens in like one spontaneous kind of a flow. I don't really break it down into, okay, now an image has to come in. It's like, when you're sitting and probably singing a song or playing music, you're not thinking this is the rhythm and this is the melody. It's happening together. So for me, that's pretty much like a process. I like to draw digitally with fingers, like holding, like. So yeah, it's it just saves me a lot of time. I also feel I have more control using a digital pen. So for me, that's what I do, completely on like a computer or something. But just to clarify, it's not artificial. It's not like, it doesn't take away anything. It's like some people use a brush and pencil. I just use what is called a digital pen. That's the only difference. You want to go on?
Process.
Process, yeah.
Process. So all these people who studied art and all like to talk about process a lot, but I have not studied art. I went and studied economics and commerce.
And neither have I. So
Yeah,
that is.
so it's more important to sell the comic than like talk about the process, because like only artists are interested in that. So like she said, mostly I like to make my own stories and draw it, and that getting that idea, the twist in the story is the rush usually. Um, the previous book that is out, I made a book called Dream Machine. It's about AI. So I worked with the French scientist who gave me all the technical stuff and wetted my writing for the technical side of it. I had a real nice experience working with this guy. The book is doing quite well. It's printed in like a few languages outside India and everything. So then after that, I had a real collaboration of like working on a story, which I just finished, and it'll be out soon with a hero of mine that I've followed for a long time, who's been very nice to like join us here. He's Perumal Murugan, and we made we made a book together, and it's been a great experience for me, learning wise, and just to work with the man. The ease of working with somebody who's like just been in the scene for a while. So I really appreciated that opportunity. Thank you very much, sir. But like, yeah, it was. So that book is out. That's the first one I've not been involved in the story as such, because we took a story from 1949. It's a book by a rather like interesting guy called Chellappa, who also went for the Jallikattu and all and took photos of the Jallikattu. So we have photos of the Jallikattu from the 1950s because of this man. He also wrote many novels and he ran magazines and all in Tamil. So he's written this book called Vadi Vasal. So we took Vadi Vasal and we've adapted it for graphic and it'll be out soon. Yeah, like, like it'll be out soon, yeah.
You think AI will take over our jobs?
AI will take over everybody's jobs. I think as long as we don't have a big market, we are safe.
Just say
Yeah.
nobody's noticing us yet.
Yeah. So what we figured is like AI can do things faster and cheaper and stuff like that. As
And
far as
steal our stories.
Huh?
And steal our stories.
Steal the art and the stories.
And the stories
Yeah.
together.
Stealing the art is a serious issue and nobody's really talking about it. AI, whatever software you use, like whether it's Stable Diffusion or like your DALI or whatever.
You're not supposed to tell them that. Don't
What?
give away names of
Of?
AI.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm sure you're all using it, like, and not telling anybody, but like, even students are using this to like write their assignments and stuff
Don't
like
make
that.
it official. Like, just don't make it official.
Yeah, it's not official,
Huh.
but like they're stealing. It's been trained. It's basically your training set that has been given to the AI. So it's always like based on all whatever's there. It's been scraped off the internet. So there was this popular case of this guy Rutkowski. Greg Rutkowski in the US, where like Rutkowski does these fantasy kind of like paintings with dragons and like Lord of the Rings kind of looking things. Suddenly, he was the most prompted artist on what's that Midjourney. Then people are like asking Rutkowski's style and like making things in Rutkowski's style. Suddenly, Rutkowski found like paintings he had not done like popping up everywhere. Is this fair or not? Like, so there he went on. There was a legal case that followed, and there's a in certain parts of the states, at least like AI generated art, you can't like copyright, which means you can't publish your own book with AI generated art. So I think that's kind of fair until we get like better regulations in or see what the AI is trained on. Because right now it's trained on your artwork if you have it on Instagram and mine and like whatever is out there. So you can tell it, you can tell where it's copied from also if you like just broadly prompt, but then you can like fine tune and prompt more and like get it into one area where it looks kind of original and stuff. But yeah, about jobs. It will do faster and cheaper. Right now, India doesn't need graphic novels faster and cheaper, so we are okay.
But do you know there are some comic books that are completely made AI and they're selling? They
Yes.
sell more than our books.
Yeah, sure. That's not tough, but like, yeah, it's happening. There are novels also that have been completely AI generated. Right now, some musicians' friends were complaining about AI generated music. And then day before yesterday, I found a page where there are fictional bands. So, there'll be like Rainbow Caravan from the 70s. It just looks like this band from the 70s with like rainbow colors and everything. But there was no band like that. And there are albums you can like listen to. It's completely like AI generated. And it's got that feel also. You think it's like
Pick
some
one phrase from ABBA, perhaps.
yeah, like so many feels like that, So yeah, things are going haywire with AI, but we don't make comics with AI. I think, yeah, that was the point of the book, Dream Machine. So after that, I had like a real blast, like working on Vadivasal because it's 1950s and we're talking about bulls and people and just being in the heart of Tamil Nadu, like after that was just a treat for myself.
So we're looking forward to that. When should we expect this book?
Well, that's for the publisher, but we've done our work.
Okay.
And should be out soon.
Oh,
like
cool.
we're just trying to get as much money as we can.
That's a good idea always.
Process.
We did AI comics and now we talked about character story as well.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, like,
Okay.
your like something that you enjoy in your scene as something you created as a character or a story, something that you like, kind of like, or I'm sure you like everything, but like something that you think you want to throw out and discuss it.
Well, actually, last year, what I did enjoy writing about was this book, Starry, Starry Night, because it has a character called Death in it. Like, it could be, I mean, often you can interpret it as like a a shadow, a figure. The best was at a podcast because it doesn't have any features. Somebody asked me, why does it look like an egg? It doesn't look like an egg, but it does have like a nice bald, a monkish face, I would say. Yeah. So I really liked working on that character because it kind of brought about a lot of questions because at that point I was also, ironically, I finished the book exactly when my father passed away. So it had like a lot of nuances I could work with in a very minimalistic way. So I enjoyed working on that character. And simultaneously, I was also working on a character for the other book, Song of the Sky Tree, which was a little more lighter. But it was a very confused character in the sense this was like, 1990s India, where a person is trying to grapple with their own identity without knowing what, because nowadays we have information, you have places to talk about so many things, even about loneliness. And I also deal with a lot of loneliness in my books. Like, I think I should get out of that theme because I'm constantly in all my books, everybody's lonely and everybody's looking for a friend. So that's something I always like to kind of investigate or whatever, explore, because I think essentially that all bind everything that binds us together. I know people talk about love and all that. I think it's loneliness. So I think that's something I like to talk about a lot.
That's nice. I think now we're really getting somewhere.
We're getting somewhere.
Yeah. Because I think those are the kind of things like, we have to like look in and figure out. Finally, we are lonely. But nobody likes to admit that we are lonely. And this whole social media thing and all this distraction is to like keep you away from thinking that, right? Can you, like, there was this Tarkovsky interview from the 70s, 72 or something, where he was asked, like, what is your advice to the younger generation? This is in 1972, okay? So Tarkovsky is saying, learn to spend time alone. This is before like cell phones came and all. So, can we spend that time alone? I take that advice very seriously and I try to practice it. I try to sit without the phone. Like, I don't really have any OTT things or anything at home. My internet is mostly hotspot. So, like, I have to work, I have to put it on to get on Instagram. So, which is a very effective thing because every day I find I'm fighting to save my headspace. I'm having a battle with like all those advertising idiots like me, like trying to like get a space like in my head. Like this, everyone's vying for your time and your space. They want to control your thoughts before you even know it. And with AI and with the kind of like outreach we have and network we have, connections and all that, we can actually do it. We can actually like predict your behavior better than you can. So it's really coming to that, and now it's only going to get faster. So I try to like just defend my space so that I'll have thoughts of my own. And also you need time to like sit and like think of something, like Alone she was saying. It's okay, like you're figuring out things because if you keep up with all this, then you don't have time to concentrate on any one thing. Like a surface level about everything. A lot of stuff that is no consequence to your life at all. Like it's just like trivia. Like you can be fine without it, and if you want it, it's there. But like it stops us from going in and knowing ourselves finally.
Yeah.
So I was also doing this story, so that's what I wanted to like get back to. Like it's this inner world kind of thing, and this sort of inner child character is very scared of the world, right?
Yeah.
So they are trying. It's trying to protect itself. So it builds this shell around it. It's like just a metaphor. Like so, the sensitive inner being is like protected by this shell around it. Now the shell is to protect you from all the harmful, painful things that are coming from outside, but it also keeps you out of feeling anything, of hearing the good things also, empathizing with things, connecting with people, all that as well. So the shell is working in both ways. So then how the character like deals with that and comes out of it to like talk about it. Hey, she's getting like fan mail and like notes and all. I'm not getting anything. What is this deal? Like, who's the secret fan who's like writing to her? Okay, we have like 8 minutes. That basically means that we have to open it up for like questions or something. But Q&A section starts
That is the secret fan mail. Huh?
1:50. Okay, what's the time now?
That's our timer.
Yeah, but
So,
what?
yeah. So
All right.
7 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yes.
2 minutes
Yeah.
to Q&A session.
Not yet. Wait. One more second to go.
One more second.
Hold it, huh? There. Now you can start with your Q&A.
Start your Q. I hope you have it all like ready and prepared. Like, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, see, we came and prepared. I mean, I hope you have some notes just to, even if it's
Yeah.
scribbles.
While you're asking, I'll ask her this question. Why do you like Litfest?
Hello.
Captive audience, you see, they need to sit under a shade.
Yeah, there's like,
Where are
it's
you?
burning everywhere, so you have to sit here and listen to us.
This is called captive audience. Where else will they listen to us?
Why do you like Medimix?
Because big. Hey, I'm not doing anything for free. Huh?
Okay,
Totally not, huh?
okay,
Yeah.
cool. Hi, where's the question?
I hope I get the question right. You were born in the 80s. I mean, you read through the 80s and 90s of Shupandis and Shikari Shambhus
Yes.
and all that. How was the process then and today? I mean, can you imagine the difference between what used to happen then and now?
I think at that point, we have all grown up with Amar Chitrakatha and stuff, right? There's a very distinct art style there, and the beauty of it is, it was very Indianized, like they didn't try to ape a lot of things. I loved it, I also come from so in Bengal, we have a very strong comic book culture. It's never been translated really. It's usually Bengali. I can't read it either, but I remember as a kid sitting through these magazines which were basically two kids, but very localized, and they always appealed to me. I think they were all very what we would say hand drawn traditional art forms which would be done on paper. So that would be like a huge difference in a sense. And also I like the fact that they didn't really cater to trying to create a Superman. Let's now make Iron Man, and that was the beauty.
Yeah, I think we had some really nice, a good start to comics and that visual reading I was talking about earlier. We had a good start, but somehow it kind of stayed there, or it didn't like progress further. There are very few voices that have like stayed and like come through.
Yeah.
Another hero of mine is in the audience who has stayed through for a long time. Unni sir, hello. So there are artists. There are artists who are like holding this whole flag and like standing there, but I don't know. Somehow there was nothing in between. We missed a few things. I
Yeah.
think in the 70s there were all these lot of artists like Unni and Arvindan and all were doing his form of comics. Chariya Mansharum Velya Logo, things like that. So after that was like a really like developed scene for comics, and from there we just like forgot about it.
Yeah.
I think we went after like education or like becoming doctors or something, and we thought like comics are bad for you kind of thing, like, but those were not those kind of comics. They were like involved comics and there were stories. I think we lost that momentum quite a bit. We were equating it to like I don't know, it was probably the movie phase or something that came, and the comics didn't develop. And then after that, when it came out, first it became like actually Raj Comics and all did a lot of work in the north, but mostly superhero territory only. But it's a good way to bring in readers, just like our Tinkle and Balarama and all used to do, like at the back in the day. Many characters were shared also between them, so it was like kind of nice. But I think after that we went into this very intellectual, like academic comics. Nobody's read my books, but there are like many PhD people like working on my comics, and they've written like meanings out of it. They've drawn meanings out of my work, which I never like intended, but it makes me feel good. Yeah. So
It's horrifying. I actually have 2 pages of one of my book in some NCRT textbook. I said, why? Please, those kids are going to hate me. Why is it even there? So yeah, I mean, I think.
But I do think I can slightly. I mean, I've been in it for a while, and I never said like anything optimistic about it. But like now, I think I can see like it's becoming a better scene, and like bigger writers and all are like looking at the comic field and like collaborating, and like with that strength we can actually reach out more, and the visual medium is going berserk everywhere. People are turning to comics now. The problem is like one of my friend's kids, like she was looking at my book and crying, and they're like, your work is so dark, like my kid is crying. No, the kid is crying because it's swiping and it's not moving the page. It's not moving. That image is not moving. So this is where we are right now. So it's kind of like, yeah. Questions.
Yeah, we have
Questions.
2 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me? Uh,
We can hear you.
here,
Come
over
on.
here.
Here.
Hey,
I don't know who's speaking.
no, you are.
Okay,
Who is? Who is?
You can go first and then
Uh,
you can go. Yeah.
Who goes first? Me. All right.
Yeah, you can go first.
All right. So now that you've discussed about AI, my question is around that. Like, say someone I mean, with AI, you can write a book every day, I guess, right? And if you give your content, AI is going to generate a similar story. So now, compared to that, how do you stand out? Because any idiot can go and tell AI and it's going to write a book. Now, how are you going to stand out, or how is any writer going to stand out when it comes to his or her work?
I think it's the same as like writing and art also. Like anybody can prompt and bring out something, but I can tell that it's AI generated art, and I don't really like go with it. Like there are always like things I can tell from it, but that's not what you're asking. Like how does it stand out? I'm hoping that there will be a consciousness about it, and there will be value for original handmade art when this thing becomes overblown. Like I think everyone's going to like do it, or there will be an influx of like AI generated images and art and comics and everything. So maybe it'll lead to like a more premium thing for actually human created stuff. But that is a little ahead for us, so we'll see. I do think original stuff will carry its own value, and so I'm drawing on a tablet now, but I'm thinking like now I need to like get back to paper like I did my first few books, because we want to show like the original art, and then by the time like all of you will be like in a place to like buy art, so you know that my original art is up for sale and things like that. So it's a hustle anyway. So this is the new thing we have to like deal with. That's all.
I also think, just to add to that quickly, storytelling finally, though, if you're connecting with a story or an author or somebody who is making a graphic novel, there is some heart in it. I don't think that you can actually explain it. It's not like something you can put it on paper. I would like to still believe, I think it's that connect that happens, which cannot be done through certain, algorithms maybe.
Yeah, and the other side, they're not saying this is the most pleasurable part of making the work.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying this software can do. I don't want to give it to that software.
Exactly. I want to do
And then
it
what?
myself.
I'll go wash my clothes or something. Like, what are you talking about? That's what I want to do. So, it's because the conversation is not being done by artists that, this thing has been highlighted for the AI to do. But it's really taking away, like, the most pleasurable part. Like,
So, first off, it's very hard to ask questions at Manorama. So I'm very glad I'm getting this chance to ask a question, because usually speakers speak and there's Q&A is 2 questions.
yeah.
So I'm getting a
Go
chance.
for it, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Okay. So first off, but it's good to be at the beach. But interesting point that now I can go to Edekal Caves and see it as a comic book.
Yep.
So we can go to Wayanad or Edekal Caves and see that as prehistoric comics.
Comics, yes. Silent comics.
Silent comics. Very interesting. So we can all try that out. The one question I have for both of you is, I grew up on magazines like Mad Magazine, and then some other which we all know, all the railway magazines and comics. What do you suggest for kids today so that they can grow up on something that you know about, which is indie or which is not, whatever it is, that they have that same education in the most prehistoric art form?
If you're talking specifically about, like for me, stories are not like kids and adults, but I can tell you from the young adult kind of perspective, there are actually lots and lots of books being written for younger people right now. And when I say younger people, it could, technically they'll, put it on an age group as 10 plus, but anybody could read it. But there's actually a lot of stuff happening there. So you should read it.
I think I would send them to like old Mad magazines, because Mad has also like lost that thing of late, Like I'll give them old Mad magazines. I would look at a lot of the older stuff actually. I would tell them to look at Shel Silverstein. Shel Silverstein is a children's author who does some The Giving Tree, Big Piece meets Missing Piece meets the Big O. Great little stories with lot of like analogies and all in it. Great stuff. He's also a Grammy Award winning musician apparently, but like his work for children, very nice. Then of course Calvin and Hobbes you can send them to like now. But we grew up on a lot of Tintin and Asterix, and in some way like Tintin and Asterix, Tintin particularly has like kind of dictated the style in Europe even till now. So Hergé actually like got to one point where he minimized the detail and he crystallized the art to one form which kind of like had a long life. Like even now. Oh, okay. Like time's up, guys. Okay, shade is on. Sit down. Don't worry. Okay, we're just leaving. Some other people will come and sit here. The shade will still be on.